but Hawaii is not prepared. In fact, I think the events of January 13th showed you that people suddenly realized that this is very real and that you need to take individual action.
People think of Hawaii as a perfect paradise, a utopia of some sort. However, on January 13th of 2018, it honestly felt the opposite.
This is not a drill. If you are indoors, stay indoors. If you are outdoors, seek immediate shelter in a building.
At 8:07 in the morning, Hawaiian residents received an emergency alert from their phones. The alert read, "Ballistic missile threat inbound to Hawaii. Seek immediate shelter. This is not a drill." The state of Hawaii instantly went into chaos. People panicked, and parents desperately tried to protect their children, even going as far as placing them in manholes. A shocking 38 minutes after the alert went off, a second notification was sent out confirming that it was a false alarm. Afterwards, there was a sense of relief and confusion in the air. Maybe even anger, but there was also a sense of realization. The realization that if there was a real nuclear missile attack, most people wouldn't have a clue what to do, not even myself. To learn more about this topic, I got an interview with the former executive officer of the Hawaii Emergency Management Agency, Toby Claremont. Okay, so what would be the number one thing you would say you want to do when a missile attack comes, if it does come?
Okay, so we've got a country many thousands of miles away that seems intent on attacking the United States, or at least threatening us.
Yeah.
That threat is significant enough where you need to prepare.
Okay, so you always want to prepare.
You always want to prepare. So what does preparation look like? It means having supplies at home for about 14 days.
Okay.
So, because Hawaii's food supply only lasts 3 to 5 days if the shipping is cut off. And shipping will be cut off if a missile attacks Oahu.
Okay.
So you don't want to go hungry. You want to have, your medicines, water, food, pet food, all those things at home ready to go. In terms of what do you do when an attack is threatened, like what happened on January 13th, is you want to find shelter. That's the big deal. Get inside, get away to minimize your exposure to the effects of the blast. And then afterwards, you want to be able to be sheltered from the effects of fallout, which is radioactive material.
Okay, so basically put as much material, concrete between you and the blast.
That's absolutely well said. We call it time, distance, and mass.
Okay.
So radiation decays very, very rapidly. Within a couple, 3 days, it'll almost all be gone.
Okay.
So that's time. Distance means being as far away from the blast as you can, right? But that also means if you're inside of a building, to get in the middle of the building if you can. Then third is mass or shielding, so getting concrete between you and what's happening as opposed to wood or anything else. So getting inside of a building, the best building you can find at the time, is the right move.
Okay. So after we seek shelter, then what do we do?
It's a good question. We only have about 20 minutes from time of launch until impact. And we don't know where the weapon would land. It could land in Honolulu, it could land in Ka'u on the Big Island. It could land in the middle of the ocean. We don't know. Okay. We don't know until we know. But you have about 20 minutes. About 10 minutes of that time you have to prepare, and that's going in and seeking shelter. Once the weapon detonates, if it detonates, it will cause these effects: heat, blast, shock, very high levels of radiation and other things. Another thing called electromagnetic pulse. Those are all the effects of a nuclear weapon. So you want to stay sheltered for 48 to 72 hours. So wherever you find yourself, whether it's in a parking lot or in a school building or in somebody else's home, don't leave there for 48 to 72 hours until you can get information that it's all clear in the area that you're in. So that'll allow radiation to decay. And then the third thing you want to do is you want to listen to AM/FM radio. Most television and radio stations will be off the air after the blast, both from the physical effects and this thing I call electromagnetic pulse. So you want to have a battery-powered radio so you can listen to AM/FM, because a couple of them will be on the air, and emergency management will be able to give you instructions on what to do.
Okay. Do you think, in general, Hawaii would be prepared for blasts like this? Do you think Is it a problem how prepared Hawaii is?
Well, so the work we've been doing on this particular threat has largely been limited to warning and notification and developing the educational materials. But Hawaii is not prepared. In fact, I think the events of January 13th showed you that people suddenly realized that this is very real and that you need to take individual action. So a lot of the fear that manifested, if the population was adequately protected, could have been translated into, actions and confidence, just like you get ready for a hurricane or a tsunami.
Yeah.
So Hawaii is very poorly prepared.
So why do you think Hawaii in general is not prepared at all for a situation like this?
I think there's a lot of reasons. Complacency being at the very top. We live in a beautiful place where people take care of each other. Our economy is good. Things in Hawaii are pretty amazing. So it's hard to imagine that we would be threatened by something that could cause the injury and death to so many people. So I think there's a group of people, let's just put it in two categories. One group of people that think that everybody's going to die, and that's just not true. The worst case scenario we have, 10% of the population will be seriously injured or killed. At least 90% of the population up and around wondering, what do I do next? Okay. And there's another group of people who just simply can't imagine that this is a real thing, that somehow the military, for example, will shoot it down. It'll never come here. And put those two together and you get a population that prepares at the last minute. And I think on January 13th they realized you have to do something in advance. So it was a good thing.
So do you think now people will be a lot more prepared and for not only just missile attacks, but just any situation?
I hope so. See, I'm not interested in promoting preparedness for ballistic missile attack, because the likelihood of that is very small. Okay. However, its effects would be profound. You can't argue that. But if you're thinking about ballistic missile attack and you have 14 days worth of supplies, and you're thinking about where you are, where your family is, where you would be sheltered, you're better prepared for hurricanes, you're better prepared for flash flooding, you're better prepared for tsunami, the things that are very likely to affect us.
Okay. Like Mr. Claremont has said, if you want to survive a missile attack like the one threatened on January 13th, you need to stay inside. Remember that it's all about time, distance, and shielding from the source of the radiation. You want to make sure you work on the shielding part of the equation. Because most of us don't have a secure basement, make sure you know what area of the house or your workplace has the most protection. And most importantly, you want to prepare for situations like this before they actually happen. Many people won't think about getting an emergency food supply until they're already starving. Seriously, preparing for situations like this isn't that hard. Go buy yourself a battery-operated radio to stay notified. Make sure you have 14 days of food and water prepared, so that if a real missile attack occurs, you'll be better prepared this time. After all, if you're prepared for a nuclear missile attack, you're probably prepared for any other disaster that comes in your way.